For the last video of this worksheet, we're going to talk about an application of point slope form of a line. So remember, point slope form of a line is used to find equations of lines as long as you have a point and a slope on that line. Okay, so let's look at example 4. So example 4 says TV viewing among Americans ages 18 to 34 has declined. The following bar graph, let me move this out of my way. The following bar graph shows the percentage of Americans in this age group still watching television starting in 2014. Okay, so you can see along the y-axis, we have the percentage of people watching TV. And then along the x-axis, we have the year we start in 2014. And this particular bar graph goes through 2018. Now, to the right of that, we have this bit of information. Okay, so it says we let Y represent the percentage of Americans ages 18 to 34, and X represent the number of years after 2014. That's a really common thing when you're dealing with applications like this. Sometimes X will be a number of years since a particular time period. So in this case, we're going to let X be the number of years since 2014. Okay, so you got to do a little work to get your X. We're going to use this information to answer the following questions. Okay. So it says, use the information above to create two ordered pairs that represent viewership in 2016 and 2018. Okay, so if we're looking at 2016, X is going to equal 2016 minus 2014, which is 2. And then the second X that we're going to deal with, so we'll call this one X1 and this one X2. X2 is going to be 2018 minus 2014, which is 4. Okay. So we're just looking for two ordered pairs. If we go back to the graph in 2016, we could see the percentage of TV viewership was 22.2. So for 2016, we get the ordered pair 2, 22.2. And I'm getting that from this right here. I don't know why I have just kept it in red ink, but we'll go with it. Okay. And then for 2018, we found that our X coordinate needs to be 4, and then viewership in 2018 was 16.8. Okay, so we've answered the question. Use the information above to create two ordered pairs that represent the viewership in 2016 and the viewership in 2018. Okay, now for part B, it says use the ordered pairs from part A to write an equation in slope-intercept form to represent annual TV viewership in this age group. We're going to have to do a couple of things here. The first thing we're going to have to do is calculate the slope. And just for the sake of space, I'm going to calculate the slope underneath my two ordered pairs, again, just so I have plenty of room. So M equals, remember, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We'll say 2016 is x1, y1, and 2018 is x2, y2. We'll fill that into the formula, and we're going to get 16.8 minus 22.2 all over 4 minus 2. So if you need to, you can go to the calculator. I think I still have the calculator up. I have Desmos up. Let's see if I can switch. All right, so we had 22.2. Well, we had, I think it was 16.8. Let me look at my notes. We had 16.8 minus 22.2, which is negative 5.4. We also had 4 minus 2, which 4 minus 2 I think is pretty easy. We know that's 2. But ultimately, we need to take the y and divide it by the x. So we need to take negative 5.4 and divide it by 2, which is negative 2.7. Okay, so let me go back to the worksheet. Now, ordinarily, when we're doing slope, we want to keep it in fraction form, but in this case, we're talking more about like a rate of change. So we're going to go ahead and write this as a decimal. So we had negative 5.4 over 2, which was negative 2.7. So my slope here is negative 2.7, and then it truthfully does not matter which of these two ordered pairs you use. You could use the information from 2016 or the information from 2018. We're just going to get we're just kind of playing around with this idea of point slope form, but again, it does not matter which ordered pair you choose. So let's say that we choose 2016. All right, so we're going to use 2, 22.2. So this is going to be x1, this is going to be y1. And we're going to plug all of that into y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So let's see, y1 is 22.2, m is negative 2.7, and x1 is 2. So I'm going to simplify this. All right, so I've got y minus 22.2 equals, well, negative 2.7 times x is just negative 2.7. And then if you need a calculator, you could certainly do negative 2 times negative 2.7 in your head or on the side. But if you need the calculator, we would get negative 2.7 times 2. So we're going to get what, like 5.4, remember? Yeah, so we get our negative 5.4. And hopefully that makes sense because we took negative 5.4 and divided it by 2 to get 2.7. So to take 2.7 and multiply it by 2, it's just 5.4. All right, so let's go back to the worksheet. All right, so we have our negative 2.7x, and then we're taking negative 2.7 times negative 2, so that should actually be plus 5.4, not minus 5.4. All right, now I want to get my y alone. So in order to get y alone, I need to undo that minus 22.2. So I want to add 22.2 to both sides. So the 22.2s on the left just become 0. So I get y equals negative 2.7x plus, let's see, we're going to get 27.6. So this is an equation of a line that goes to these 2 points. Now, if you were in, like, say, a statistics class, you would do something very similar to this, but you would use all the different pieces of information and you do something called linear regression. So this is just kind of a play on point slope form. It's not necessarily what you would always do in a situation like this, but we're just going to play around with this point slope form here, okay? Now, part C says, if the trend continues, what percentage of Americans ages 18 to 34 could we expect to be watching television in 2022? So again, I want to be very clear. If you were in a statistics class or some other math class, you would do this very differently. You would do something called linear regression. Here, we're just doing a play on this idea of point slope form, okay? So do know that different class, you would do this differently. But for now, we're just going to roll with it. So we have the equation y equals negative 2.7x plus 27.6. We know x equals the number of years since 2014, and y equals percent viewership. So it's the percent of Americans in that age group that are still watching TV. So what we would need to do is we would need to figure out what is x. So x in this case is going to equal 2022 minus 2014, because remember, x is the number of years since 2014. So if I take 2022 and I subtract 2014, I get what, 8? So we're going to let x equal 8, and we're just going to plug that into this formula here. So y equals negative 2.7 times 8 plus 27.6. Well, negative 2.7 times 8, let's go back to the calculator. We get negative 2.7 times 8. Well, that's negative 21.6. I wish I could show two screens. I need to play around and see if I can do that. So we get negative, what was it, 22.6? And then we're going to add 27.6 to that. So let me see. I'm not going to go back to the calculator. I'm just going to use my calculator. So we had negative 2.7 times 8, which is negative 21.6. Were you all screaming in the video? It's 21. It's 21. All right. So we get negative 21.6 plus 27.8 or plus 27.6. So we should get 6. So negative 21.6 plus 27.6 is 6. So we have to ask ourselves, well, what does that mean? That means 6% of people in that particular age group are still watching TV. Now, I don't know about you. I think that's baloney. I definitely think more than 6% of the Americans ages 18 to 34 are watching TV back in 2022, but let's just roll with it, okay? So this is just an application involving point slope form of a line. Don't take it too seriously, but that's how you would approach this problem in this class. Again, different classes, you would do this very differently, all right?